Hello, and welcome back to Patrick Replies, the show where I, Patrick, reply to your questions and comments about the latest video. This is the Christmas edition, I guess, because I don't know if you can tell, I'm shooting this from my parents' house. I didn't have time to shoot it before I traveled up here for Christmas. I'm actually currently in the room where we used to do the talk show during 2020, like the lockdown talk show. I used to, like, that was the wall right over there where we had the backdrop up. But anyway, a couple weeks ago, they put a couch in here. And so I'm doing it here. And also you'll see at the end of the episode, I shot the part where I opened like the physical mail back at my apartment because I didn't have room in my suitcase to put all the mail in there. So I'm like, I'll shoot that part in the city, and then I'll travel and I'll shoot the rest of it. Anyway, today we are talking about the episode When Movie Stars Become Brands, discussing the strange careers of Dwayne Johnson and Ryan Reynolds. And as usual, we will start with the comments from the YouTube comments section, pulled by our community manager, the great Emma Logsdon. And let's see what you guys had to say. First up, from Stel Marta. I'm going to come in with a small defense of Red Notice. A bold statement. When it came out, I watched it over Thanksgiving with my family. This was literally a week after I had been diagnosed with cancer, and I was on a crazy amount of prednisone, meaning I was exhausted, wired, and terrified, and could not sleep through the night. I cooked like half the Thanksgiving sides in a frenzy on maybe 3 hours of sleep, having just had my uncle shave my head. And then Red Notice, bless it, put me in the deepest sleep I'd had in ages, there on the couch next to my cousin and my sister-in-law, so my thanks to Dwayne Johnson and Ryan Reynolds for their soothing performances. Wow, this is an incredible comment. Stel Marta, I hope you're doing all right. Sounds like a really insane time, but look, I guess that's what Red Notice is good for, you know? Even in the most intense scenarios, it is so intensely dull that it will put you to sleep. There you have it. Okay, up next, Anthony Mace says, I remember when A-list actors would only do commercials in Japan, and you wouldn't know about it until years later when it gets shared on the internet. Yeah, I mean, obviously, of course, we've got plenty of like crazy, like Nicolas Cage, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Japanese commercials. Yeah, has someone written like a history of celebrity endorsement deals? Like in the video, we talked about how movie stars, promoting brands isn't a new thing, but what is a new thing is just how much they do now. Like the Kevin Hart scenario where, Jesus, it seems like Kevin Hart is the spokesman for like just 10 companies. I will say, in regards to the Kevin Hart thing, every time he pops up promoting another brand, I'm just like, Kevin, this is greedy and selfish now. Like, these spokesperson jobs used to be the things that comedians would try to get so that they could have a steady job and live off of that while trying to build up their comedy career and touring. And now you're just taking all of them. Like, you don't need these. Kevin Hart, chill out. But yeah, also, I miss those wacky Japanese commercials. Let's have more of those. Okay, Why We Watch says, I've been wondering about Johnson for a while now. Thank you for making this. I still have a few questions. Number one, where does Ballers fit into this? Is it an insurance policy if Johnson finds a drama or anti-hero antagonist he's interested in, but the director only sees his persona? Yeah, Ballers, for those who are not aware, because it weirdly seems to get totally ignored while it was on. Ballers was the HBO show that Dwayne Johnson made for was it 3 or 4 seasons? That was like John David Washington's breakout role, like before, Black Klansman and Tenet and all of that. But yeah, it's weird that The Rock made an HBO show about sports agents for several years, and no one seems to watch it or talk about it, except didn't Elizabeth Warren say that she liked Ballers a lot? But yeah, anyway, it's such an anomaly because it is an HBO show that The Rock was in, that was aimed at adults. He had like 1 or 2 sex scenes in it, and This will sound like a weird thing, but I did look up those sex scenes when I was, working on the video, just to be like, what are those? And it's weird to see, because yeah, it was not that long ago. But yeah, the show seemed to make so little cultural impact. But I'm like, was just a move to extend his brand to HBO and like get kind of like the clout and legitimacy of that channel? I really don't know. It also seems like the show started before he had like really like solidified this current era of his career. But yeah, it's just strange that The Rock made that show and it might as well not exist. It should be a big deal, but it's not. Okay, number 2. Would Reynolds' trajectory have shifted a little if he also had a prestige drama like around 2016 to nowish, or did a season or arc on the same show? Yeah, that's really the thing. Like in this video and in like the Who's Killing Cinema one, I brought up Chris Evans as an example of a guy who, should be having like a cruise in the 90s style career, and just isn't because the movies aren't there. But he still has like Knives Out, where he has like a great supporting role, like playing against type, subverting his movie star persona, in a really good movie from an interesting director that people liked. And Reynolds doesn't have one of those. Yeah, it's just weird that he has not even tried to do like even like a prestige comedy. I'm not asking for him to play, like a drug addict or something like that. I'm just like, Ryan Reynolds, you could be working with basically anybody. Because the thing is, Adventureland was so long ago, also a supporting role, and Mississippi Grind was, I think, such a small movie that mostly got overlooked at the time, that if he did have, something a little more recent and a little bit bigger, that people could point to be like, that one, do more stuff like that. But he doesn't really have one of those. And so I think a lot of people like, if you look at like film Twitter or whatever, they're just like staunchly anti-Reynolds, because he never seems to even attempt anything interesting. Okay, number 3, what should Tom Holland do after his hiatus? In my opinion, Tom Holland should, be British, because he just now does the same American accent in everything, and every time he pops up in a thing, I just go, oh, it's Peter Parker. Even like, I'm one of the few people who watched the Russo brothers movie Cherry, which is a bad movie, but yeah, Tom Holland is, it's like a guy who like goes to war and then becomes like an opioid addict. And the whole time I'm just like, oh, it's little Peter Parker. And he's robbing a bank and, is like taking drugs. But he just still seems like a little child. Yeah, I mean, Tom Holland is a perfect example of like why does he need Uncharted as well? Why does he need another franchise? Tom Holland, you should do like a romantic comedy, but one set in London. That would be nice. I would watch that. Is he still doing the, is it the Fred Astaire biopic? This is fun to watch me just look up stuff on my phone. Yeah, okay, so here's the thing. Tom Holland does have this Fred Astaire biopic directed by Paul King, Paddington director Paul King. That could be good. He's got a really good director. He's finally got a movie that can utilize, his dancing abilities. That could be it. Also, it'll be nice to hear him do an American accent that's not just the Peter Parker voice. Yeah, we'll see. Oh, number 4, did Cody Johnson consult on this episode? No, he did not. We put novels together not all on our own, but no, we did not talk to Cody about this. Multiple people, and I assume in the comments ahead, multiple people have brought up the Warm Bow, connections and similarities. Honestly, not an influence. No connection. Okay, Christian Mulligan says, Pat, my dude, you have been hitting it out of the park lately. Thank you. Every single video has been more interesting than the last. Are we in the Patissance? That is not up for me to decide, but I will say thank you so much. This is really nice to hear. I think we've had a really good year of video. I mean, well, the season's over now. I think we've had a really strong season. I think this is the best collection of videos we've ever made. And so I'm glad someone else says so. Also, I like how we have 666 likes. Yeah. AM19925 says, brilliant video. Thank you. For a Ryan Reynolds comparison, specifically an older movie star, what do you think of Hugh Grant? Hugh Grant was more rom-com focused than Ryan, but both are/were comedy-leaning actors relying on their own specific charm and certain very identifiable sets of attractive, charming, rich-seeming guy mannerisms that they carried between films, and both of their better roles are where that charm is critiqued or subverted in some ways, such as Bridget Jones for Hugh. As Hugh Grant is about a decade ahead, he seems to recognize that he aged out of that shtick, or maybe just got tired of it, and has taken more roles that are further out of that remit, my favorite being The Gentleman. I don't think Reynolds necessarily feels the pressure to change it up, partially because his kind of charm isn't really tied to a genre in the same way Hugh Grant got associated with rom-coms, and he can carry it between different genres, and Reynolds' shtick might be a bit more age-proof than Hugh Grant's posh boy thing. Also, it just seems like it may well be his actual personality. I think it might be fair to argue that Hugh Grant has significantly better taste, usually. Yeah, Hugh Grant is an interesting comparison, just in terms of like a movie star kind of locked into a persona. You know, Hugh Grant, especially in, by the end of the 90s, by the early 2000s, I feel like people were starting to complain about like, oh God, is he going to do his like charming, awkward, stammering thing forever? But with Hugh Grant, as much as, he tended just to play like posh British people who are like charmingly awkward. You've got him in stuff like Roman Polanski's Bitter Moon, a wild movie. He's got a major role in Ang Lee's Sense and Sensibility. Like he's doing like serious dramas and really pursuing like good, interesting collaborators. And then there's just the thing of like his romantic comedies, like Four Weddings, Notting Hill, are just like really good. Like I was talking about how Johnson and Reynolds, seem to like stick with like regular collaborators. Reynolds has Sean Levy and I think Richard Curtis as a writer, who obviously Hugh Grant worked with on Four Weddings and a Funeral, Notting Hill, Love Actually, Bridget Jones, is just a better writer who's like a really, really great collaborator who really understands like exactly how to use Hugh Grant's attributes. And then as he got older, Hugh Grant is just a lot of fun now. Obviously Paddington 2 is like kind of the ultimate example. That's the thing. I think Hugh Grant understood like what his persona was, but also how to like push it and critique it a little bit, and then really how to like hone in on it by picking the perfect collaborators who really knew what to do with him. And I do believe that out there for Reynolds is a collaborator as good as Richard Curtis, who can do something more interesting and more fun with his persona. Ryan, I hope you find it. Even though, financially you were doing more than okay. Dick Scribble says, I've watched this channel for a while. I never comment, but this was one of the best. This was not only interesting analysis about the particularity of these two movie stars, but whenever the yellow inverted Alf Muppet came on, I had a few laugh cries. It's been a long time since I've seen something that funny. Big thumbs up for novels. We love to hear it. Back in the day, I designed the Two Guys and a Girl's website, still in my folio, as a designer at ABC. They had a real good-looking website in 1999 to 2000-ish, if anyone remembers Go Disney Networks. Anyhow, it's been interesting how big Reynolds' star has gotten since I had to focus on him as a design element to sell the show. Wow, that is wild. Nathan Fillion was also in the series, and the one people thought would blow up to that stature because of his Han Solo-ish career turns. Guest Castle and The Space Thing were a good run, respectively. Think it worked out for both of them for the most part. You've really mastered YouTube, keep up the great work, and keep the co-host. Dick Scribble, thank you so much. This is a great comment. Wow, folks, we have the actual designer of the Two Guys and a Girl website, which feels pretty big. Yeah, you know, I think things did work out for Reynolds and Nathan Fillion. And yeah, thank you for the very kind words about the YouTube channel. And also, I'm sorry that, you know, Nobbles is not the permanent co-host, as you've probably seen by now. But, you know, we're keeping him around. Okay, Meredith Sutton said, ooh, follow up to my comment on the Death of Cinema video. This was the one about, you know, going to movie theaters alone. Follow up to my comment on the Death of Cinema video. I went to the theater last week alone. Hell yeah, congrats. Saw Napoleon, it was pretty good. Thanks for giving me the encouragement I needed to go to the movies alone. It is my pleasure. I'm so glad that it worked out. Seeing movies alone is a wonderful thing. I did it 5 times this week. Yeah, in the span of 3 days, Monday through Wednesday, I went to see a total of 5 movies, all of them by myself. And yeah, had a good time. A well-mannered white family says, question for the replies maybe? Hi, Emma. Emma says hello. Whose idea was Nobbles? And what other revelations are hiding in his lore other than double majoring in classics and behavioral sciences at Brown and having a master's in comparative literature from Columbia? Okay, the great Nobbles question that I'm happy to answer. I knew it would come up because, yeah, I'm pretty sure that no one watching this channel expected us to introduce a major new character who is a puppet at this point, or really any point. We've been sitting on this for a long time. We had our first discussions about Nobbles in January. Nobbles has been finished and sitting in my apartment, ready to go since July. And then we first shot his parts on camera in October. So here's how Nobbles came to be. In January this year, I was on a Zoom call with Jake Torpy and Mike Curran, our narrative writers, talking about what to do with upcoming videos, storylines, stuff like that. And then in the middle of the meeting, I get an email from Dominic Curie at Camera Sauce Productions. And the email basically said, hi, I have a company. We build like Muppet style puppets, and we do like stop motion animation, stuff like that. You know, would love to work with you. Here are some like ideas for types of ways we could collaborate. And immediately I'm just like, guys, shut up, pause the meeting. I have to show you this email. So I read them the email and I'm like, what do we do? Because this is a great opportunity. His work is really good. And I think we should take him up on this. And immediately Jake is like, I know what it should be. Now, flashback to 2015. Back in 2015, Jake, Mike, and I, mostly Jake and Mike, I just kind of consulted and, you know, helped develop the story. We wrote a, was it 6 episode web series that was never produced. It was during the period after the Wes Anderson X-Men video came out, and, you know, we were like having all these meetings and stuff like that about developing projects, and we thought all these things were going to happen. They didn't happen. But one of the projects that we wrote was this web series. In episode 5, a little alien Muppet character who's described as being Salacious Crumb-esque shows up, named Nobbles. And Nobbles only says his name, you know, like a Pokemon. And there was one part where I realized none of you even know what this series was about, but I don't want to, you know, give away too much in case it ever gets made. But there's a part where a character just looks at him and says, I guess you had a part to play after all, Nobbles. And it made me laugh so hard. And we never made that project. We still have the scripts. It's still very funny. But anyway, when this email from Dominic came in and I was like, guys, what do we do? Jake immediately said, we get Nobbles. We get him to build Nobbles and put Nobbles in the videos. Because for, you know, like 7 or 8 years, Nobbles is just a thing that we have not forgotten about and just thought about a lot. And so I replied to Dominic immediately and was like, hello, we have an idea. We would like a Muppet. Although I guess we should say puppet, because Muppet is like a trademark brand. It's like, there's the Muppets, but you can't have like a puppet that's also a Muppet unless it's like a Jim Henson, company thing. Anyway, so I was like, we have an idea for a puppet. His name is Nobbles. And then when Dominic and I got on a Zoom call and I explained the idea for Nobbles, I was like, the really important thing about Nobbles is that he sucks. And so, yeah, and so what basically happened then was, we discussed like how this would go, how the build would go, like what scale of like complexity, budgets and stuff like that. And then Dominic started like doing like concept designs and would send stuff over and I'd be like, ooh, this one. At one point he did a whole page of nose options and, we picked the nose we wanted, we picked the color scheme, all of that. Jake threw out the idea of like, when he saw the long floppy nose, he was like, ooh, could he sneeze? And look, you should follow Camera Sauce on Instagram. Dominic has been making these amazing behind-the-scenes videos about how Nobbles was built and designed and created, and he shows like how he put together the sneezing rig through his nose, where there's like tubes running through that connect to a spray bottle. It's so cool. Once we finalized all the design choices, then he spent a few months building Nobbles, then mailed him over. And then we just kind of had to strategize about like, okay, what video do we debut him in? And I really felt that the ROCK Reynolds video, the one about, movie stars as brands and all of that, would be the perfect place to introduce this new character. And the first thing we actually shot with Nobbles was the holiday special. So yeah, that shot, when I open the door and Nobbles is there and he goes, hello, Patrick, I'm the first, it's me, your second visitation, woo! That is the very first shot that we did with Nobbles. But yeah, anyway, that is the story of Nobbles. We had no original plan for it. It just was like, Dominic sent me this email. This was a great opportunity. I'm like, I want to work with you. Nobbles has kind of haunted us for 8 years, and now we finally made him a reality. And despite what I say on camera, I do love him. And yes, we are working on Nobbles merch. Blanky? I don't know. Blanky M says, it's so damn hilarious to see Patrick for an hour just begging people to acknowledge that maybe, at least a little, making fun, interesting movies is actually a good idea. Yeah, it's funny when some people, I'll see them complain just like, man, Patrick is like, why is he, being really like bitter and negative and cynical and complaining? And I'm just like, I don't really think I am. I just want people to make good movies. And of course there are like a million good movies getting made. I'm just like, movies are great. And I think we should all want the studios to, to make things that are more interesting, that big, powerful movie stars should try harder and make interesting projects. Like, that's all. I just like movies. The problem with usernames is I never know like what the separations between like words are. So I'm like, is this Thea Lindahl? Thea Lindahl? Is it the Allendal? The Allendal? I don't know. Anyway, let's say Thea Lindahl, all one word, says, this video caused a big fight this morning amongst partners and roommates. Oh no. The fight was about the thesis of the video, so I pose, is this video exclusively about the careers of Dwayne Johnson and Ryan Reynolds, or is it about actors and the way they interact with their brands with an emphasis on them as the examples? Anyway, support Nebula. Hell yeah, support Nebula. It's a great place. We're doing exciting stuff. If you can afford it, I think it's a thing that everyone should be watching and checking out, because it's just great, and I'm excited about all the stuff on there, and also the holiday special, guys. Anyway, as far as this question goes, I think it is the latter. It's about actors and the way they interact with their brands, with an emphasis on Johnson and Reynolds because, as I mentioned, especially in the Nebula bonus companion video, more Nebula stuff, this also applies to, especially right now, Kevin Hart and Mark Wahlberg. It's just that I think Johnson and Reynolds are, kind of the two best and most interesting examples, we currently have. But yeah, it's not exclusively about them. It's just kind of like a strange phenomenon that they are the best representations of. True Wars says, "Hi, Patrick and Emma. Hope you're doing fine." Thank you. I am. My comment will not have much to do with the topic from this video, but it has to do with the death of movie stars, a subtopic from the murder mystery video, and still related to this one, so I hope you consider it for Patrick Replies. It has been considered and selected. Maybe, I would say probably, the downfall of comedy and rom-com movies in the 2000s and 2010s is not only associated with the fall of mid-budget films as a whole, but also related to the death of the movie star, simply because a good comedian or a specific couple that people want to see together is what generally sells this kind of movies. With audiences being trained to not value movie stars anymore, the only selling point for these films also loses its value, causing them to inevitably lose popularity over time. Yes. Yeah, I totally agree. It's it's a thing that we did talk about a bit in the Who's Killing Cinema video. But yeah, the collapse of mainstream studio comedy films. It's a real kind of chicken and the egg thing where it's what came first? Studios deciding to make fewer comedies, or is it movie stars not mattering as much? Because you look at through 2011 or 12 or so, Will Ferrell comedies were major summer blockbusters. Step Brothers came out the summer of The Dark Knight. Adam Sandler movies made a ton of money, and then he made his Netflix deal and just stopped making movies that came out in theaters. So no one knows how successful those movies even are anyway. Comedy stars really, were a brand that sold movies that had reasonable budgets. Paul Rudd is a comedy star, and he's just a guy in the Ghostbusters reboots outside of being Ant-Man. Where are the Paul Rudd mid-budget comedies? Everyone likes that guy. It's a bummer. Sean Grizel, or Greasel, probably Sean Grizel. Sean, please tell me the correct way to pronounce your last name. Hi, Patrick. Congrats on the new video. It was an absolute banger and the perfect way to end your Death of Cinema trilogy here, with the Everything is Content and Death of Cinema murder mystery. I would say, honestly, I would include the AI video and call it a quadrilogy, not a trilogy. But that's just my dumb interpretation. One question I had from the video is, which filmmakers do you think would be best suited for The Rock and Reynolds' acting skills? Could Reynolds' insincerity be weaponized in one of Rian Johnson's Knives Out movies? Should The Rock work with Michael Bay again? Okay, so since this comment was posted, since the video came out, you've probably all seen the news, and a million people sent this to me on Twitter and Instagram and everything, that Dwayne Johnson is making an A24 movie written and directed by Benny Safdie, which is crazy. I mean, that's the best case version of what I hoped to see. That's the thing. I would have said Dwayne Johnson should, I don't know, work with maybe Chad Stahelski. That might be interesting. I know he's worked with David Leitch, but I think Stahelski is the better one, who's doing more interesting stuff, and I think he would utilize Johnson's persona in a more interesting way. It'd also be fun to just see him work with I don't know, Gareth Evans, make a really intense action movie. Should The Rock work with Michael Bay again? Yes. I would love to see that. That could be really fun. Obviously, Reynolds did work with Michael Bay. I think stuck way too much to his regular persona, and it, really hurt the movie. But in terms of who Reynolds should work with, I would love to see him in a Paul Thomas Anderson movie. I think PTA would use him really well. I'd like to see him in a Sofia Coppola movie. I think that could work. Especially as an aloof, kind of shitty boyfriend to, you know, the main character. You know, like in On the Rocks, he could have played, like, Marlon Wayans' role or something like that. Should he be used in one of Rian Johnson's Knives Out movies? Maybe. Hey, maybe he could be the person who gets murdered. I do kind of wonder if that, because those have a kind of a very like arch comedic tone anyway, that could go either way. That could either be a really good, interesting use of Reynolds to like kind of like really lean into the insincerity there, or it could potentially be very annoying. I don't know. Johnson's a smart guy. I bet he could figure it out. Look, I am not a huge fan of like the current era of Adam McKay. His post-Will Ferrell movies are not my favorites. Not a big fan of Vice or Don't Look Up. I think the vibe that he's, you know, working in right now, well, I'd like him to, you know, improve it and be a little bit less smug. I think Reynolds would actually slot well into that, and McKay could probably, you know, get him to like work a little bit harder and do something a bit more interesting. So, you know, yeah, it's a tricky question. P.S. When will Emma and Nobles be able to host their own episode? I'm dying to hear their thoughts on Magnolia. I mean, maybe next season. I would watch that. Also easier for me because I don't have to be on camera. Just25 says, "Hi Emma, question for Patrick. How do you expect your female viewership percentage to increase if you were barely going to mention one of the greatest romantic comedies of all time, The Proposal? In fact, now that I think about it, Ryan Reynolds used to make rom-coms fairly often, but now has moved on to simply making a brand out of his marriage to Blake Lively." Okay, look, I watched The Proposal for the first time while I was researching this video, and I genuinely think it is among Reynolds' best movies and best roles by far. It is actually, would I say The Proposal is my third favorite Ryan Reynolds movie? Yes, I would. That movie came out in 2009. You know, there's just, like, it doesn't factor that much into the current conversation. I also watched Definitely Maybe, which I think he is a little bit miscast in. It's like, it's okay. So apologies, female viewers, and just rom-com loving viewers in general for not talking more about The Proposal, but it's good, and Reynolds should do more things like that, because, hey, Ryan, wouldn't it be fun to be considered the savior of romantic comedies in Hollywood? J-Lo can't do it all herself. Justin M. Martin says, "Hey Patrick and Emma, I've been a huge fan for many years, but this is literally the first YouTube comment I've ever made. I'm a minister, and I really enjoy the way you craft your arguments around a larger narrative. It's very much a sermon where the text is in the film nerd sense of the word text, not necessarily some scripture." Interesting. I never thought of this before. I love both films and scripture, so it's all good to me. I love the video, but I wanted to point out that Ryan Reynolds' character in Van Wilder is just Otter from Animal House. The actor who plays Otter in Animal House is even the actor who plays Ryan Reynolds' dad in that movie, to enforce this even harder. Essentially, his character is What If Otter, but 2002. All the characters that follow from there work on that same formula. What if X, but Otter? Green Lantern is What If Green Lantern was Otter? I read a bunch of Deadpool back in the Rob Liefeld stuff, and also later when it turned into Funny Deadpool, and the movie version is Deadpool, but also kind of Otter. Everything about that character says, Deadpool, damn, glad to meet you. This is a great point, and yes, Tim Matheson, who played Otter in Animal House, does play Van Wilder's dad. One thing that I think is important to point out is that in Animal House, Otter is not the main character. He's like an important character, but like we do not see the movie through his eyes. He's not like the audience surrogate character, because I think what Animal House understands is that, you know, you can't have a character that like aloof and like, you know, just kind of who like doesn't really care, who doesn't take anything seriously, be the main character and still have us invested. That's why Animal House starts out with like the two new guys, like, you know, joining the fraternity. Not the guy who already like, you know, is like the king of the world knows how to do everything. But yeah, that's a really great observation. What if Otter was the star of every movie, even like action movies? Jake Meeting says, "Hi, Patrick and Emma. Longtime watcher, first-time commenter." We've gotten a lot of those this time. I don't know if this question pertains too much to this video, but it has to do with the celebrity brand of Tom Cruise. One of my favorite topics. Since I saw Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1 in theaters, I've wanted to ask you your thoughts on the film's subtext. Throughout the movie, the characters say they must go analog to beat the entity. While this fits with Tom Cruise's brand of filmmaking, using old-school movie-making techniques instead of relying on special effects, I thought it conflicted with the fact that this was the first Mission Impossible movie to be shot digitally. I'm sure Cruise fought hard against the studio on using digital, but I'd like your thoughts on this. This is a really good point, and something I've thought about before. I've talked about it in videos, you know, how like the Mission Impossible movies will do things like, for instance, Rogue Nation, the mission briefing, he goes to like an old record store and it comes on a vinyl record. It's very much making a point of like, this is like the analog movie franchise. It's not all digital. And so yeah, I see how Dead Reckoning being shot digitally can kind of clash with that. One thing I will say is that I don't think that was like a studio demand, because I think we've learned that Paramount can't really make any demands on Cruise and McQuarrie. I believe the main reason that was shot digitally, even though I know McQuarrie has said that like with the stunt work that they had planned, they just needed lighter weight cameras to do that stuff. But the thing is, that was shooting during COVID, and during COVID, basically all of like the film labs were shut down. And so apologies for the name drop, but it is relevant. But the one time that I met Darren Aronofsky, when he came into the Nebula Studios, and you know, Dave and I were like working on a little like video with him to like promote his children's book that he wrote, and it came up about like how The Whale was shot, and you know, Darren was saying that like he always shoots on film, but because they shot that during COVID, they had to shoot it digitally because the film labs were shut down. And so I'm sure there are multiple reasons for why Dead Reckoning was shot digitally, but I think one notable one is just that nothing could shoot on film like at the height of COVID. But I don't really think this works against the subtext too much, because you know, while I do love the stuff about them having to go more analog, you know, the part where you've got like all the people in like the giant like warehouse, all like, you know, well, it's like with typewriters typing up all the files so they can like destroy the digital files. I think the bigger thing with the Entity is not about like digital versus analog, but it's more about like, you know, individual humans making human choices for themselves versus algorithms. I think that matters more, and I think that still absolutely comes through the movie, regardless of like what technology or what tools they're using to make those human choices. So yeah, I get the digital thing. I would have loved if the movie was shot on film, but it doesn't really like ruin anything for me. P.S. It was purely a coincidence that my family and I were vacationing in Rome during the premiere of Dead Reckoning. I was there too. We saw the premiere area, and our hotel was down the street from where Cruise was staying. I think we were staying extremely close to each other, because my hotel was like a 5-minute walk from Cruise's hotel. It was more upsetting for me that I did not see you in Rome versus not seeing any of the celebrities. Well, thank you. And hey, if anyone ever sees me out and about, whether in New York or Rome, say hello. I promise I'm nice. I thought I walked past Sam from Wendover Productions. Did he accompany you on the trip? No. Sam from Wendover and Jetlag, and, you know, now famously in the Patrick H. Willems Star Wars Holiday Special, Sam was not in Rome to my knowledge. I think I'd have known if he was there, but no. I do not believe he was there. PSS, I do believe Emma deserves to go with you to the next film premiere you attend. I totally agree. Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 2, which apparently might have a new title and will come out now in 2025. Yes, we are doing a campaign to get Emma invited as well. Hashtag Mission Impossible. Diogo S. Cinema says, "Hi Patrick, great video, but what camera and lighting scheme do you use in the videos?" Aha. I love talking about this stuff. So for the video essays, we use pretty much the same setup every single time. We shoot it on a Sony a7S III in S-Log 3 picture profile. For the essay portions, I use a Sigma 35mm lens. It's got really good autofocus. I put a Tiffin Black Pro Mist 1/2 filter on it to soften it up a bit and give that nice little like bloom around my head. For the narrative sections, I use all Canon FD lenses from like the 80s, usually like a 50mm, but occasionally like a 35, sometimes like a 70-210. But as far as the lighting setup goes, we have 3 lights involved. We use 2 aperture novas. One is the key light. We have a nova like angled right up, coming from up here, with a big diffuser in front of it to soften the light. Then on the backdrop behind me, we have a nova on the floor, casting the light up just on the backdrop, and we have it set to a different color every time. Yeah, and then we have an aperture 60x on a C-stand up over my head, blasting down behind me to create that hard backlight. And that's the lighting setup. Okay, Garrett Sanders says, even after all that, the real question still remains, where did Patrick get that sweater? Yeah, in this video, there were a lot of questions and comments about the sweater that I was wearing. And to be fair, it's probably the best sweater I've ever owned. I got it recently. I have it right here. This is the sweater from the video. Look at it. It's yeah, check it out. It's really soft. It is a J-Press Shaggy Dog sweater. J-Press has been making the Shaggy Dog sweaters for like, I don't know, like 70 years. It is Shetland wool, made in Scotland. And it is the coziest, most comfortable thing in the world. Corbo XD says, surprised you didn't mention Ryan Gosling as the obvious comparison to Reynolds. He can and does in some scenarios still fill the same role as a total pretty boy action star, but seems to love taking really creative and interesting roles instead. Drive, Place Beyond the Pines, Big Short, hell, even Barbie. I'm actually gonna disagree here. I don't really think that Gosling and Reynolds have much in common at all, other than being, you know, attractive white male movie stars named Ryan. Reynolds' persona, well, if you ask anybody, they'll tell you he's a comedy guy and an action guy, mostly like an action comedy guy. But Gosling didn't do comedy for a long time. It wasn't until The Nice Guys in 2016 where I actually realized oh wait, Ryan Gosling is really funny and good at comedy. And as far as action goes, you know, obviously he's in The Gray Man, and then he's got The Fall Guy coming out in the spring, but he wasn't really an action guy for years. He was just basically a dramatic actor. He was the guy from Half Nelson and The Notebook. Yeah, the movies where he's serious. He's giving dramatic performances. He's getting Oscar nominations and stuff like that. I think Ryan Reynolds is just fundamentally a very different actor with a very different persona, and so I would not even really compare the two. I will say, Gosling is great. He's fantastic. I know I'm a big fan. I hope there are no more Gray Man movies, and instead more Nice Guy movies. Sheb Jess says, as a wrestling fan who's followed both actors' careers over the years, it's so remarkable to me that with everything Johnson has done for his career, the actors who have the acting career he wants is John Cena and Dave Bautista. Both of them have great range, aren't afraid of playing the heel, and aren't afraid of being the butt of the jokes. I'm more excited about their future projects than I am about Johnson's. Yeah, this is something that a lot of people brought up because, you know, Dave Bautista and John Cena have, objectively just become really, way more interesting actors than Dwayne Johnson. I do think that there are some major differences to consider with their careers because, The Rock was so big, was such a big deal just in popular culture that when he made the jump to movies, he was pretty much immediately the lead, the star of these. The Mummy Returns was a small role, but it was such a big movie. And then he immediately gets his own spinoff with the Scorpion King. Then he's got The Rundown and stuff like that. So he jumped to major leading man instantly and had to carry these movies like himself. The way that Batista and Cena transitioned was very different because, like, especially John Cena was, like, big in wrestling. Like, I don't really watch wrestling, but I was, like, aware of him. But they mostly transitioned via supporting roles. They were not as huge, like, pop cultural entities as The Rock. And so in their careers, they've mostly kind of, like, you know, found their groove and done interesting stuff via supporting roles. Like with Cena, they kind of tried to make him like a big action star at first with like The Marine, produced by WWE Films. But then his career really worked out when he had a small role in Trainwreck and was really funny. You know, as part of the ensemble in Blockers, was part of the ensemble in The Suicide Squad. And he was mostly doing comedy in all of those. He's like a villain who then is redeemed in F9, doing like more serious action stuff, but like he's not the lead in any of these. The one thing he's the lead in is Peacemaker, a much like smaller budget show than, you know, the Suicide Squad movie. But yeah, and he's doing great work in all of these, really interesting stuff. He's got like a lot of range. He's really funny. He can pull off the dramatic stuff in Peacemaker. I'm really enjoying Cena. I think it is a bummer that they just basically like threw out his entire personality in Fast X and just made him a completely different character. That seemed like a waste to me. And then with Batista, he's got the best, most interesting career of any of them. And it's also almost entirely through supporting roles, whether, you know, in the Guardians movies, in Glass Onion, Blade Runner, Dune, stuff like that. Yes, I know there is Stuber and My Spy, which I will admit I haven't seen either of those. But these guys are really smart. They really understand, you know, the kind of roles they work in. And I just think they're approaching their careers very differently because, like, Dwayne Johnson has basically just become, you know, one of the biggest pop cultural entities in the world. Like one of the most famous people alive, a guy who was always the star, the lead of everything. And these guys, I don't think will or could ever be that, so they're not trying to be. I just think they're doing fundamentally different things. Of course, these guys are doing more interesting work because they just have totally different personas. And look, they're not really movie stars. They are interesting character actors, and yeah, they're just doing different stuff. Okay, Liam Daly says, this is actually one of my favorite essays on the channel. Thank you. Celebrities are no longer just a movie star. Movies used product placement that celebrities own, and actors like Reynolds and The Rock have to become a brand. Yeah, that's basically it. By the way, Nobbles will live in my nightmares for a while. Mission accomplished. Benja Condell says, Patrick deserves a lot of credit for researching pro wrestling for this video. The parallels of how The Rock started as a boring face to beloved heel to a bland face again is astonishing. Digital Janice says, I'm pretty sure Siddharth knew all that off the top of his head. Correct. All of that wrestling stuff, Siddharth wrote that. And he knew it all and basically didn't even have to look anything up. And so yeah, I did not do research. I just had a great co-writer. Cara Bear Comics says, to me, Reynolds had developed his current persona before Deadpool. He just hadn't gotten to using it in every movie yet. His Hannibal King in Blade Trinity seems to be what he's going for now. Some people might just say he's playing Van Wilder now, but I do think he was missing some of his current persona in that, while Hannibal King really was just the same guy he's playing now. Yeah, you're not wrong. I think something to point out is that Hannibal King in Blade Trinity, you know, also known as the bad Blade movie that no one likes, not the lead in that movie. He is kind of the, you know, supporting comic relief. I think that's an important part of this whole thing. That, you know, maybe that kind of persona works best on the side, not, you know, right in the center of a movie. Okay, and that does it for the comments section from YouTube. Now, we are going to jump over to the questions from our Discord. Our Discord server, like I say in every single episode, is available exclusively to members of the Patreon. If you sign up for the Patreon, then you immediately get access to the Discord, which is a lovely place where people hang out. We talk about movies, and there's an Ask Patrick channel there where you can submit questions for these videos. The way it works is if the questions pertain to the latest video, I answer them in the video. If they are just any random old question about anything, I will just answer them in Discord. But I will answer all the questions. So yeah, join Discord, ask me anything. Okay, so up first, we have Rob Secundus saying, a fantastic conclusion to the Things Are Bad Now trilogy. The bit about twins has me wondering though, with the death of the mass appeal comedy, who is the Ivan Reitman of 2023? Well, it's Jason Reitman, of course. After all, just like his dad, he made a Ghostbusters movie. But no, for real, I don't think we have one. Like, Ivan Reitman started out, making, like, pretty low-budget comedies like Meatballs, then jumped up to, like, big VFX-filled blockbuster comedies like Ghostbusters, then found a nice career making, like, mid-budget stuff like Twins or Dave or stuff like that. Like, yeah, I don't think anyone is quite working in that lane. Is it like Nicholas Stoller? Is it like James Bobin? But no, I don't. That's the thing. No one is making the kind of like late 80s and 90s like mid-budget Ivan Reitman movies anymore. Yeah, I don't think we have one. I think we need an Ivan Reitman. Lord Hermes says, hi Patrick, I need to know where the idea for Nobbles came from and who made him. This one already covered earlier in the video. Pinball Witch says, hi Pat and crew, another great episode. Thank you. Just a quick question, who would win a fight between Nobbles and Warmbow from Some More News? I mean, I'm really biased, but I'm gonna say Nobbles because he has the sneeze move that he can use to distract his enemies. Like while they're like, oh God, you sneezed to my face. That's when Nobbles like reaches out his long arm and like clocks him. To be fair, Nobbles can't make fists, but I'm still gonna say Nobbles. Armando Marchetti says, hi Patrick, loved the new video. I kept expecting it to end with a directed by Ross and Marshall Thurber title card. Probably should have. Damn. Also, that Jake Easter egg made me loudly gasp. And Dave, the agent, TM, always nails it with his deadpan humor. I agree. If this season was Men in Black, he would be Tommy Lee Jones. Wow. Wow. Look, don't show this to Dave. Might go to his head. First of all, it's always nice to see someone acknowledging Southland Tales as one of the most unhinged movies of the century, The Rock saying the fourth dimension would collapse upon itself, you stupid bitch, before kissing Bai Ling is still one of the craziest things I've ever witnessed. Here's the question. What do you think of Richard Kelly? His short filmography is so fascinating to me, I wonder what he's up to these days. The Box was a weird one as well, but you could feel it was directed by him. Did you have a chance to watch the Arrow Video can cut of Southland Tales? I'm curious to see what his original vision was. Okay, so I wish I had a better answer here. In high school, unsurprisingly, I loved Donnie Darko. I have not watched it since high school. Southland Tales, I watched like in college, and I wasn't sure what to make of it at the time, and I haven't seen it since then. And I have not watched the can cut on the Arrow Video release. I really should. And I've never seen The Box. Oh, also, as far as Richard Kelly goes, he wrote the screenplay for Tony Scott's Domino, a movie that I watched for the first time a few years ago and really wanted to love, and I think it might be my least favorite Tony Scott movie. And mostly, I think, because of the script. It just didn't really work for me. As much as Tony Scott is doing interesting visual things, I also think, like, he wasn't quite the right director to do that. But yeah, not a huge Domino fan. But I really should watch The Box. I don't know, maybe next season I do a Richard Kelly video. No promises. It's not on the schedule, but, could be interesting. Shadow Earthshaker says, do you think that John Cena is better at following Schwarzenegger's career than The Rock was? He hasn't found his big project yet, but at least he still swings between military guys and cringe dad. I'm genuinely more excited for a movie with Cena because it feels more like I get something from his performance. Plus, in his F9 apology video to the Chinese people, he speaks some pretty decent Chinese, so he has skills. So yeah, in an earlier question, we covered Cena as well as Batista. But yeah, as far as following Schwarzenegger's career, he's not quite like following the blueprint the way The Rock was like earlier on. But he's still got things like, there's that, he's got his like family kids comedy where he's like a firefighter or something like that. He's like a villain in F9. I would love to see Cena play like a genuine villain, like a bad dude. Look, just someone do a Terminator. That's what you gotta do. And Cena has become such a comedy guy, and to be fair, he's really good at it. Has he done like a straight ahead like action movie where he's the lead in a while? I don't know. When's one of these guys gonna do like a Predator or like a Commando? Just make a straight down the middle, like intense action movie, but one that's good. Oh, Noble's question. Wouldn't a sidekick that appeals to a potential female audience have been better? I mean, yeah, sure. But I didn't pick Nobles. Dave forced him onto the show. It wasn't my choice. But yes, I mean, you're right. The Duke of Tumwater says, something that I thought about while watching your latest video was how two of Dwayne Johnson's wrestler-turned-actor contemporaries, John Cena and Dave Batista, have managed to take on much more interesting projects, and they both seem much more willing to challenge themselves and try new things. What are your thoughts on their career trajectories as they compare to The Rock's, and how do you think they've managed to avoid the same pitfalls so far? I probably should have organized these questions better because we have covered that already. Left on for ya. But Patrick Willems, you didn't fully research them if you didn't try Terramana Tequila and Aviation Gin and get a trial of Mint Mobile. I seriously was expecting you to be drinking both while talking about them, or maybe Casamigos RTCM wine for some irony. Curious if you actually did sample them, how they are. So I released this probably after this question was posted, but on Nebula right now, there is a bonus companion video to the ROCK Reynolds video where I drink Aviation Gin, Terramana Tequila, and Zoa Energy Drink. And while drinking those, I cover some various like topics and tangents that didn't make it into like the main video. But yeah, I drank them all. Go over to Nebula and watch me drink a bunch of alcohol and an energy drink. I think it's a pretty fun time. Side note, I am a satisfied Mint customer, joined before Ryan was owner, and actually one of the biggest fans as I beta test and am in contact with the CEO and run the Mint subreddit. Look forward to the holiday card and voicemails from Ryan every year. Ryan set up a holiday helpline for Mint customers, but anyone can call. Well, hey, there you have it. I will say, I did, for that Nebula bonus video, I did genuinely consider like signing up for Mint Mobile as well. And I genuinely just did not have the time. I was like, I gotta just shoot this in an hour. I can't sign up for like another cell phone plan, but it's good to hear that Mint is a good service. Kelstar says, hey Patrick, I'm really enjoying the direction you are taking your recent videos. Exploring these very relevant topics on AI, celebrity brands, and this gigantic shift in cinema are extremely interesting and important. I have a question for you, though, about where you see yourself in this changing environment. Your Twitter profile used to say, trying desperately to sell out. I think it still does say, like, trying very hard to sell out or something like that. I get the impression you want to explore a different way to make your art and that you see these trends as a cause for concern for this art form. However, it's becoming increasingly obvious that these topics that concern you, especially AI, are going to be the way to sell out. Where do you see yourself fitting into this rapidly changing space? Yeah, that is a very good question that I don't know if I have a great answer for. I will say, as far as the selling out thing goes, which, is always like a little bit of a joke when I have it on my Twitter bio, as far as the element of truth to it, it's funny asking even like what selling out means anymore, because it used to be in like the 90s or even like the early 2000s that selling out was like a band, like an indie band signing to a major label, where it's like, oh, you're just taking money and now you're going mainstream, you're endorsing brands and that kind of thing now. And I think that has really changed, especially like with internet creators. Yeah, well, like now when YouTube channels and podcasts start getting sponsors, their fans tend to be happy about it. And they're like, yay, you're actually making money from this thing. It's so hard to make money as like, a creative person doing any kind of art. So yeah, go get paid. And the whole thing about shilling for products, it's not frowned upon the way it used to be, because I think everyone has just become more realistic and understands like, yeah, there is this compromise that you have to strike like on your own terms, and this is the way you get paid, by basically doing some kind of commercial. Aviation Gin, I know you follow me on Twitter now, and whoever runs your social media watches the videos. If you would like to work together in some way, give me a call. Sorry, there's like a wasp. So yeah, when I say selling out, I think it's more like I would like to, I guess, go a bit more like mainstream and make money. But yeah, I still want to make stuff that I care about. I don't really know if there's a clear answer for this, where it's like, in terms of these topics, it's I don't want to work with AI outside of things like, AI tools in Photoshop. I'm not going to use AI to like make movies, because that sucks. Working with brands, I already do that, and I'm generally okay with that, and I'm cool with doing that on like a larger scale. And as far as shifts in cinema go, look, I think we are like arriving at a point where there's going to be like a lot of change coming, especially in terms of like mainstream cinema. The franchise era might be collapsing. And so of course there's the dream of like, hey, will there still be a chance, to make like unique, original, like personal movies, but on a large scale that get a wide release? I'm optimistic that will continue to exist. So where do I see myself fitting into this rapidly changing space? I just kind of hope that I have a place at all in this space. Fingers crossed. Salato says, hi Patrick, what I'm going to ask is more in regards of Dwayne Johnson about a certain aspect of him, and that's him as a president. Do you think through his career and his support of things like the SAG-AFTRA strike, he's trying to get the appreciation of the people when he will propose himself as president? This sounds very detached from the video and even movies in general. However, those are similar strategies that Arnold Schwarzenegger and, more importantly, Ronald Reagan used when they proposed as government and president respectively. So do you think Dwayne is following in their footsteps, especially since you build similarities between him and Arnold? Personally, if he ends up being more Reagan than Arnold, I think it's better if he gave up those plans, since it didn't end well with Reagan. Sorry if it's hard to read, I'm French and my English isn't perfect. No worries, honestly, that totally made sense. So the basic question is Dwayne Johnson, by like publicly supporting like the SAG strike, I mean, he's a member of SAG, so he should support it, but is that, I think you're saying like, is that a cynical move to show that you're supporting these organizations and labor in order to like take a step toward politics? I would like to believe that he genuinely, supported the SAG strike and is trying to support the workers, who were out of work while striking. And this is not just a means to an end for an eventual presidential run. But yeah, it's weird. It does seem like he's maybe like cooled his jets as far as like running for president goes. But I don't know. He just announced he's doing an A24 movie. Anything is on the table. Who knows? Ammo Stills says, I would argue that for as ego-driven as these buff guys are, Arnold Schwarzenegger knew what he was and really had a sense of humor. Dwayne Johnson would never do something as wonderful as the scene in Last Action Hero where Arnold stars in his own version of Laurence Olivier's Hamlet. That scene is literally straight out of an episode of The Critic and is hilarious. If you have not seen Last Action Hero, and you have not seen the fake trailer in the movie for Schwarzenegger in Hamlet, just look it up on YouTube. It's amazing. Or the scene in True Lies where an incredibly jacked Arnold says, I love being a computer salesman. Arnold embraced the Simpsons-esque parody image of himself and wasn't afraid to McBain it up. This is why The Rock's bit in The Other Guys is good. It shows him understanding who he is and having self-awareness about the ludicrous nature of his on-screen persona. Aim for the bushes. Aim for the bushes, still, in my opinion, a contender for the funniest moment in 21st century cinema. But yeah, I mean, I think what you're pointing out here is that, you know, with Arnold, I mean, like, look, Last Action Hero and True Lies were a year apart. And so, look, he picked really good collaborators. John McTiernan, working from a Shane Black script, James Cameron. Yeah, I mean, what this is honestly reminding me of is there's that one SNL sketch when The Rock was on. This was years ago. But it was like a trailer for like a live action remake of Bambi, I think it was, but where The Rock is just like, you know, like jacked action Bambi. And I remember it being not that funny because it's like trying to make him look cool. And yeah, Schwarzenegger like was okay with being the butt of the joke. He would still, in those movies, you know, get to do plenty of cool action stuff, but he also would let himself look silly. And also, you know, Schwarzenegger like played things pretty straight. He's not an actor of great depth or range, but you know, he played things sincerely, and I think that matters, and that's part of why like he had such an interesting career. Lewis P.S. says, "Hi, Patrick. Quick question. Is Nobles Stage 1 of Jake's plan to slowly turn the show into an unofficial Labyrinth 2? If so, I support this plan." You know, I hadn't thought about that before, but maybe. You know, if he is, I'm not opposed to it. More puppets, more musical numbers. Let's do it. Quantum Quinn says, "Trying to tie the recent videos together and building off of Nobles' insightful comments, maybe Dwayne Johnson and Ryan Reynolds have made largely bland movies where they play the same characters because they think of themselves not as movie stars, but content stars. Consistency of brand identity across platforms and steady releases becomes more important than any single project." Oh, God. They're just applying, like, a YouTuber mentality to movies? I don't have an answer for that, but it wouldn't surprise me. I mean, look, Dwayne Johnson loves talking about properties so much. It's easy to imagine him talking about content. Okay, Crantastic. I love saying this name. "Hi, Patrick. Do you think Jason Momoa fits your idea of the type of career The Rock should have? He started with similar manly action hero type roles, but seems to be branching out in recent years by working with acclaimed directors with a signature style, like Denis Villeneuve with Dune, played a villain in Fast X, and the only good thing about that installment, in my opinion, and using his movie star box office cred to produce and even write film and television projects instead of promoting energy drinks." Yeah, I mean, it's funny with Jason Momoa, like his main thing that he seems to promote is not like a liquor or any other brands, but it's just like environmentalism and like recycling and clean water and stuff like that. Yeah, I think Momoa is kind of like, he's a unique example because he's not as big a star as the other two guys, despite being Aquaman. My man, Aquaman. Momoa is fun because in movies, I think he's a good actor. He's like genuinely sincere. He's like he gives very committed performances, but his persona is mostly just like, I'm just a chill, laid back guy. Like, you know, I'm just having fun. With Momoa, you don't see any of like the brand maintenance cynicism that you do with like Johnson and Reynolds. If anything with Momoa, he seems like he just doesn't care and isn't worrying about it and just kind of chilling out and just, you know, doing what he feels like. So yeah, I think he's been pretty smart about a lot of this, and yeah, he's a guy that I enjoy. Even if I always discover that he's made random movies that like no one has ever mentioned. Like, let me look this up. Like last year, he was in a movie called The Last Manhunt. I've never heard of this. Of course, there was Slumberland, the big budget Netflix movie directed by Francis Lawrence that no one has ever watched. It is crazy to me that he made 3 seasons of an Apple TV show called See, where like everyone in the world is blind. Oh yeah, 2021, a movie called Sweet Girl. I have not seen that. I've never heard anyone mention it. He had that other show, Frontier, that also ran for 3 seasons. Yeah, look, Momoa works. He really works. He keeps on working. And yeah, I am totally cool with him continuing to not really worry about the overall brand and just doing whatever he thinks is fun. Death Ray Tech says, did you do any research into how Dwayne and Ryan talk about their childhoods compared to the actors that used their fame to make good movies? A possible explanation for the difference is that the brand actors merely dreamt of being famous, while the Tom Cruises dreamt of making movies. Honestly, no. I did not do research into like how they talk about their childhoods. I mean, I've seen stuff with Reynolds talking about like, you know, growing up and his dad and stuff like that, but I don't know a ton about like his childhood relationship with movies. And I know with Johnson, it seemed to mostly be about like wrestling, and the family thing was like his dad was a wrestler, his grandfather was a wrestler. Like it seemed way more about wrestling than movies, and then like movies just kind of happened organically over time. But yeah, I do not really know what their childhood dreams were. Nick Smith says, Patrick, forgive me if you've already answered this, but has Emma, her character, ever met Jake, R.I.P.? Also, is she supposed to be the same person as from Night of the Coconut? So, I hope you've watched the holiday special, because Emma literally has a line answering one of those questions. And as far as Night of the Coconut, yes, Emma is the same person from her one brief cameo in Night of the Coconut, which is why in her first episode from this season, I think it was the Looney Tunes one, she's wearing the same Charles shirt as in Night of the Coconut. So yeah, but look, in Night of the Coconut, you know, she was just hired by like Charles and Patrick's company. Don't blame her for anything. Okay, and final question from JBlee44. Action movie star question. Is Arnold a better actor than we give him credit for? Because he has been in timeless classics like Terminator and Total Recall, and proves to have comedic chops in Twins and Kindergarten Cop. If you want to know an action star who is actually bad at acting, just look at Steven Seagal. That is a great question. And yes, I think that Arnold Schwarzenegger is an underrated actor. Because, yeah, Steven Seagal, actually a bad actor, basically no screen presence, no energy, boring to watch. And Schwarzenegger, it's the crazy thing where it's like, he is a bodybuilder from Austria who didn't even speak great English and became a giant American movie star. Like, Arnold was always charismatic and had energy and was just fun to watch. Like, that's why Pumping Iron, his documentary, like launched his career and became such a big deal at like the Cannes Film Festival, because it's just like, this guy is a magnetic screen presence, even when he's just doing interviews. And then Arnold put in the work to like learn how to act and work with good people. And so yeah, he's not like an incredible dramatic actor with a ton of range. He's always gonna like look like a cartoon person with a crazy accent. But you look at Predator, and I believe that man is actually afraid, that he cares about his friends. Yeah, that movie is way more successful dramatically than you would think it would be if you haven't seen it. Yeah, Terminator 1 and 2, it's easy to say like, oh, he's just playing an emotionless robot. You know, there's no acting involved in that. That is not true. Those movies are not what they are without Schwarzenegger. And what he's doing physically in both of them is essential to why they work. It's really impressive stuff. Schwarzenegger is such a weird anomaly in, I think, film history. And he is a better actor than he gets credit for. He's also very funny. Arnold is cool. Thumbs up. Okay, and that concludes it for the YouTube comments and the Discord questions, and now I will pass it over to myself from a couple days ago to the segment that I shot back in New York. Take it away, Patrick. Okay, so now here I am in my office, back at my apartment. I am shooting this the day that I am traveling upstate for Christmas. And so I realized that I should shoot this part first, the physical mail part, because I don't have room in my suitcase for the physical mail. So I'm gonna do this here, and as you've probably already seen, shoot the rest of the video upstate at my parents' house. So anyway, we have here some physical mail that people mailed into the P.O. box. As always, the P.O. box is in the description on all the videos. It's on the About section of the channel. You can mail stuff in. If you don't want me to open it on camera, if it's like a secret letter, then just write "don't open on camera" on it. But I assume usually people want me to open this on camera in these videos. We have a letter, an envelope from the UK. Let's see, what this is. We have, these are, can you see it there? The Paddington pound coins. That's great. It says, Dear Patrick, please find enclosed a set of the 2018/19 Paddington Bear, my correction, 50p coins, made in honor of his 60th anniversary. I was at a car boot sale when I spotted these, and your face immediately popped into my head. A few moments of haggling later, and here we are. Later, it struck me as a really weird thing to do, but I do enjoy watching you open the mail on Patrick Replies, so I've got to commit to the bit now. Anyway, this is from Hugh in Surrey, UK. Hugh, thank you so much. This is lovely. I've always wanted these, and now I've got the set. This is awesome. Thank you so much. Next up, this is from Finland. Hey, I just saw the movie Fallen Leaves yesterday, the new Aki Kaurismäki movie, which is Finnish. And is that the first Finnish movie I've ever seen? I don't know. Anyway, I saw a Finnish movie yesterday. Fallen Leaves is really good. It's also 80 minutes long. Everyone go see it. What? Whoa. Hello, Patrick. No need to read out the letter on camera. Well, here we are. But if there's anything you'd like to comment on them, please do so. Okay, we got a lot of postcards here, it seems. This is a long letter from Lotta. If you're wondering how to pronounce my name, just channel your inner Italian and say the name Carlotta, but leave out the first part. Lotta. Dear Patrick, it's taken me a few weeks to decide whether or not to write to you since I've been unsure if I'll have anything cohesive to say. Firstly, I'm part of the minority of your female audience, and so to show my support, I just wanted to say hi and encourage you to keep making videos about topics that you want to talk about, no matter if they'll interest a primarily male audience or if they'll be monetarily successful on YouTube. I love to hear that. This is lovely, and here we have a collection of Finnish art postcards. This is good content, right? I probably shouldn't be saying content. People will think I'm not doing it ironically. This is great. Lotta, thank you so much. So cool to hear from people in Finland, which seems like a lovely country that I should really visit one of these days. So thank you so much. This is great. Okay, next up, from Ottawa, Ontario. Whoa, all the mail so far is international. Thank you all so much for shipping it from so far away. Okay. This is amazing. From Steven, Patrick and Company. Keep up the fantastic work. May Saint Marty's bemused countenance shine a light if your days feel dark. I recognize these now. Steven made a couple of these images and sent it to us on Twitter. There is, if you can see here, there's Emma in the style of a Peanuts character, me in the style of a Tintin character, and then here, this is amazing. Just a painting of Marty. This is so cool. This is amazing. Wow, Steven, thank you so much. This rules. Okay, next up, finally, a domestic letter. This is from St. Louis, Missouri. Ooh. Look at that. An origami sword. This is really cool. This is from Mitchell. Dear Patrick, I wanted to write a letter to say thank you for your wonderful and insightful videos. I used to be one of those people who was like, all I care about is story, but you've shown me the ways the tools of cinema can enhance a story, and that it's okay to sacrifice story for fun sometimes. To that end, I've watched all of the Mission Impossible movies after your Patrick Explains video, and now it's my favorite movie series, longer than a trilogy. Ghost Protocol and Fallout frequently competing as my favorite. I love to hear that. That's fantastic. Some of my favorite videos of yours are the Francis Ford Coppola one, the first Blue Flame special, Limitations of the MCU with the Little Women video, yes, the baseball movies video, the trilogy video, the Matrix sequels rewrite, and basically all of the Patrick Explains. Your infectious passion for movies has made me a smarter and more adventurous movie fan. Lastly, I think one way to save American cinema is more sword fights, so I've included an origami sword. Sincerely, Mitchell in St. Louis. P.S. The back of this is a list of movies I watched because they were recommended or mentioned in one of your videos. P.P.S. Feel free to read some or all of this in a Patrick Replies video. Wink, wink. Well, I did it. This is so lovely. We have the best viewers. Mitchell, thank you so much. Look at this. I love it. So now, on to the packages. Let's go with this first. There's a lot of tape on it. Okay. Ant Farm Dickhole. Patrick, I don't expect a review for any of these, but I would like to think that you will watch at least one. Please watch Exploitation first. Don't judge by the cover. Bill. We got what looks like a collection of DVDs in here. I feel like I need help reacting to something. So we have, you know what? I will show, if you look here, the titles on the spine. That's what we got here. We have movies called Santa Claus, A Horror Story, Texas Chainsaw Mascara, Indie Director, The Director's Cut. That one has an interesting cover that is mostly just shots of a woman's butt. Then a movie called Rape is a Circle. Then one called Exploitation, A Woman's Descent into Hell. Then we have Dick Shark Collector's Edition. And finally, Boogers of the Antichrist. You know, Bill, thank you for sending these. Bill Zabub. I get it. These are from Bill Zabub, who seems to have made all of these movies. And I'm afraid that some of the cover art, if I put it on camera, might get this demonetized. Not that the Patrick Replies videos make much money. These are a collection of independently produced movies. We want to support indie film. No promises for a review of all of these, but if you say watch Exploitation first, then I will. This is Exploitation. Bill, you've piqued my curiosity. I have no idea what any of these are. Well, that was a fun one. And our final mail. Okay, this is from, looks like Max in Denver, Colorado. Okay, what do we have? Whoa. Oh my God. I think I know what this is now. Okay, wait. Oh, there's a card. There's a card. Season's greetings. Happy holidays to all of Team Willems. Thanks for years of amazing content, short films and essays. Your proud patron, Max. P.S. Looking forward to the holiday special. It's out now. I hope you saw it. But this is merch from Alamo Drafthouse screenings. We have Junior Stargazer honoree from Asteroid City. Now, really importantly, we have the Alamo Eras Tour shirt. Alamo's version, that's great. The Alamo's version, heart sunglasses. And friendship bracelet. Look at that. Happy holidays, everybody. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you, everyone who sent in stuff here. This is all amazing. We've put a ton of work into the show this season, all the videos, the holiday special, everything. I'm really, really proud of the work that the whole team has done. I think this is a really strong collection of videos, and I hope you've enjoyed watching them. I know you've watched them, and so thank you for watching them. Thank you for supporting this weird, thing that we're doing. It really means a lot to know that people, care about this. And anyway, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. Hope you're all doing well out there. And yeah, here's to next season. Who knows what it'll be? I don't. And I still need to do one more Patrick Replies video for the season, so I should really stop saying stuff like about how this is the end, because I gotta do one more of these. Anyway, that's all for now. I got a train to catch. Bye!